Sometimes in life we are taught to follow our heart blindly. Listen to your heart, they say. It will never lead you astray. But what if the heart, ruled by emotion, is exactly what's causing the chaos in your life? What if the constant conflict between what we feel and what we know is where our true suffering lies? In this deeply reflective journey, Muniba Mazari teaches us that there comes a point when we must stop letting our emotions govern our direction. The heart feels pain, fear, doubt, and disappointment. It remembers hurt vividly and hesitates when we need to move forward. It reacts to the past and trembles at the unknown, but the mind, though the mind, is powerful, clear, strategic. It sees the bigger picture even when the present is clouded with tears. When Muniba says, "Your mind is always right," she's not dismissing emotion, she's reminding us that unchecked emotion can keep us trapped. She's inviting us to understand that maturity begins when we recognize our feelings, but choose to respond through reason. You may feel tired, you may feel unworthy, but your mind knows that you've survived every single day up till now. It has the ability to guide you out of your darkest hour, if you let it lead. There's courage in choosing the mind over the heart. Because the mind doesn't always tell us what we want to hear. It tells us what we need to hear. It calls us out. It demands change, and most of all, it asks us to grow. When life breaks you emotionally, the heart urges you to retreat, to hide, to protect yourself. But the mind reminds you that pain is part of progress, that every breakdown is a preparation for a breakthrough. The voice in your head that says, "Keep going," is often softer than the voice in your heart that cries, "I can't take this anymore." But the soft voice is the one that saves you. Many of us make emotional decisions that feel good in the moment, but ruin us in the long run. We quit too soon, say things we don't mean, love people who hurt us, and stay in places where we don't belong, all because the heart wants comfort. But the mind is truth. It doesn't chase comfort, it seeks clarity. And clarity leads to peace, not the fake peace of temporary satisfaction, but the real, lasting peace that comes from knowing you've done what's best for you. Muniba's story isn't just about surviving tragedy, it's about mastering perspective. After her accident, she had every emotional reason to give up. Her heart was shattered, her dreams were on hold, but instead of surrendering to emotion, she chose the power of thought. She trained her mind to find purpose in pain, to create meaning in loss, and through that she rose not just for herself, but for every person who ever felt broken beyond repair. She proved that when you stop listening to your heart's fears and start trusting your mind's strength, you don't just survive, you evolve. We must all learn to be emotionally aware but mentally led. Feel the pain, but don't build a home in it. Acknowledge your heartbreak, but don't let it shape your identity. Your heart may scream louder, but your mind knows the way. And when you finally decide to listen to it, you'll find that peace was never about avoiding emotions. It was about mastering them. Let your mind be your compass when your heart is confused. There are moments in life when silence becomes your loudest teacher. Moments when words fail, when people vanish, when even your own heart doesn't have the strength to console you. In those moments, what remains is your mind, the quiet warrior inside you that doesn't panic, doesn't run, but simply thinks. It analyzes, it understands, it plans. Muniba Mazari emphasizes the importance of trusting that quiet, rational voice. Because when the world breaks you, when emotions drown you, your mind becomes your only lifeboat. We are raised to romanticize feelings. We're told that our emotions are the most authentic part of us, and while there is truth in that, there is danger too. Because feelings are temporary, they're influenced by mood, by memory, by other people's actions. They fluctuate. They deceive. One day you feel unstoppable, the next day you can't get out of bed. If you keep letting these waves decide your direction, you'll be lost in the ocean forever. But the mind, it's the lighthouse. It doesn't shift with the tide. It stands firm, providing direction even when the waters are stormy. Muniba's journey is not just inspiring because of her survival, but because of her clarity. She made the conscious decision not to live from a place of hurt. She didn't allow emotion to define her future. Instead, she focused on facts. I'm still alive. I still have something to give. I still matter. These weren't emotional declarations. They were logical recognitions of her worth, and through them she rebuilt her life, stone by stone, thought by thought. How many times have we sabotaged ourselves because of what we felt in a fleeting moment? We gave up on dreams because we felt discouraged. We lashed out at people because we felt misunderstood. We walked away from opportunities because we felt scared. The heart reacts quickly, often without warning. But the mind, it waits, it watches. It knows that not every feeling needs a response. Not every tear needs a decision. Not every moment of weakness means the end of your strength. There's a power in discipline, not the kind that demands perfection, but the kind that tells you, I know you're hurting, but we keep going. The kind that lets you cry, but still moves your feet forward. That's what Muniba teaches, that even in the darkest hour, when emotion screams give up, the mind can whisper hold on, and save your life. That whisper is small, and sometimes we ignore it because it's not loud enough. But the more we train ourselves to listen to it, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, it becomes the dominant voice, the one that leads us out of cycles of pain and into lives of purpose. Sometimes people say you've changed when you stop reacting emotionally. They think you've become cold. But it's not coldness, it's control. Emotional stability is not a lack of feeling. It's the strength to not be ruled by every feeling. It's the ability to choose peace over chaos, reason over reaction. That's what real growth looks like. You begin to understand that you can feel deeply and still choose wisely. You can be kind without being soft, forgiving without being foolish, and loving without losing yourself. This is where true freedom lies, in choosing how you respond, not just how you feel. Let the mind lead, and the heart will heal in its own time. There is something profoundly empowering in realizing that your healing does not depend on circumstances changing, but on your mindset evolving. Muniba Mazari's life stands as a shining example of this truth. In the face of unthinkable adversity, she did not wait for her world to get better. She made the decision to get stronger. She teaches us that the heart may mourn for what was lost, but it is the mind that must chart a path forward. Pain, after all, is not the end of a story. It can be the start of something greater, if we allow our thoughts to lead instead of our wounds. When people face tragedy, most turn inward and break under the weight of emotional despair. They wait for something external to rescue them, a sign, a person, a change in luck. But this dependence on the outside world for inner peace is exactly what keeps us trapped. The heart clings to what was. It wants to replay memories, reopen scars, relive moments that can no longer be changed. But the mind, when awakened, brings us into the now. It helps us see that healing is not waiting at some distant point. It begins with the decision to take back control of our thoughts. What makes Muniba's message so powerful is her honesty about the struggle. She doesn't hide the pain. She doesn't pretend the emotional battles disappear overnight. But what she emphasizes is that growth happens when you allow your mind to do the work your heart is too tired to do. When your heart says, I can't, your mind must say, let's try. And over time, those small attempts accumulate into transformation. The shift begins when you no longer seek to escape the pain, but to understand it, and more importantly, outgrow it. This is where real self-respect is born. It doesn't come from validation or applause. It comes from knowing you're doing the hard thing, the right thing, even when it's emotionally exhausting. It's easy to stay broken. It's easy to be consumed by grief, bitterness, or regret. But choosing to rebuild yourself with discipline and conscious thought, that takes courage. And it is this inner discipline that Muniba speaks about. The practice of thinking beyond how you feel and focusing on who you're becoming. When you think through your healing, you stop reacting to everything that hurt you. You stop giving power to people who broke you. You stop being defined by the chapter you didn't choose. Your identity shifts from what happened to me to what I've chosen to do about it. That shift is subtle but life-changing. The heart may still carry the scars, but the mind learns to read them not as signs of defeat, but as evidence of survival. Every step forward begins with a single, often quiet, decision: to no longer let emotion be the driver. That doesn't mean you deny what you feel. It means you no longer allow it to decide your worth or dictate your path. Feelings are there to be acknowledged, but they are not your leaders. Let your mind take charge, and you'll find that peace is possible, even if pain once felt permanent. It's never about forgetting what you've been through. It's about no longer letting it control what you're heading toward. We often hear people say, "Just follow your heart," as if it's the most natural and reliable compass in life. But what no one talks about is how often the heart leads us into chaos, into decisions made in haste, out of fear, loneliness, or desperation. The heart is emotional, reactive, impulsive. It wants instant relief, not long-term results. That's why, as Muniba Mazari reminds us, we must learn to stop listening blindly to our heart and start honoring the wisdom of our mind. Because the truth is, your mind has the ability to pause, to reflect, to see beyond the temporary storm. It doesn't just feel, it understands. When life hurts, our first instinct is to retreat inward emotionally. We seek comfort through emotional choices, staying in unhealthy relationships because they feel familiar, quitting on our dreams because failure feels painful, or saying things in anger that we later regret. These decisions don't come from a place of logic, they come from a heart that's overwhelmed. But your mind is not designed to collapse under pressure. It's built to strategize, to protect, to guide. It offers clarity when emotion clouds everything else. Muniba's life is not a fairy tale. It's a story of unimaginable pain, but also of unimaginable strength. And that strength didn't come from avoiding emotion. It came from not letting emotion control her. She could have chosen to dwell in despair, to remain in the identity of a victim. But she made a decision to let her mind lead. That didn't mean her heart stopped hurting. It meant she stopped allowing that hurt to dictate her direction. That's what true resilience looks like, not the absence of pain, but the presence of discipline despite it. Emotions are valid, but they're not always accurate. The heart might tell you, "You're not good enough. You'll never be happy again. No one understands." But your mind, if trained well, will counter those lies with truth. You've survived every bad day so far. You are evolving. You are capable of more than you think. The mind, unlike the heart, doesn't need external validation. It relies on internal alignment. That's why it's so important to strengthen it, to feed it with clarity, silence, perspective, and learning. In many of our toughest moments, what hurts us the most is not the event itself, but the emotional story we attach to it. We replay scenes in our heads, we twist words, we take everything personally, we allow temporary feelings to shape permanent beliefs. But when you start living mindfully, you recognize that you can feel something deeply without allowing it to control your narrative. You start choosing actions based on logic, not emotion. You start protecting your peace, Choosing your mind over your heart doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means becoming grounded. It means valuing your future more than your feelings in the moment. It means responding rather than reacting. And most importantly, it means honoring the version of you that's trying to grow, not the version that's stuck in survival mode. Muniba's message is clear. Stop listening to the voice that only knows how to feel and start trusting the one that knows how to lead. When your heart says break, let your mind say breathe. When your heart says run, let your mind say reflect. And when your heart says you can't, let your mind remind you, you already have. That's when transformation begins, from emotional chaos to inner clarity. There comes a point in life when you realize that survival alone is not enough. You want more than just existing. You want meaning, purpose, direction. But the path to that fulfillment is often clouded by emotional noise. The heart, filled with longing, regret, fear, and hope, constantly pulls us in conflicting directions. It wants what's gone, what's comfortable, what once made us feel alive. But the mind, when trusted, brings you back to the present. It reminds you of who you are beyond what you feel. Muniba Mazari's message resonates so deeply because she lived this transformation. She didn't silence her heart, she simply stopped obeying it blindly. Pain doesn't always scream, sometimes it whispers. It shows up in self-doubt, procrastination, or the feeling of being stuck. And often, the heart tries to fix it emotionally by clinging to the past, by longing for what used to be, or by making decisions just to feel something again. But healing doesn't happen through emotional shortcuts. It happens when the mind takes responsibility for where you're going next. When you stop reacting and start choosing, when you stop trying to escape the pain and begin to understand what it's trying to teach you. Muniba's strength came from this exact shift. She understood that pain was a part of her story, but it didn't have to be the whole story. Her heart felt broken, yes, but her mind reminded her that brokenness isn't permanent, that even in the ruins, something new can be built. And what she built from her pain was a purpose. She turned her emotional wounds into a mission, her setbacks into stepping stones. Not because she felt ready, but because she thought through the pain. That's the key. She chose to think forward. So many of us wait for healing to feel easy. We wait to feel motivated before we move. But motivation isn't always emotional. Often it's intellectual. You decide to move, you choose to rise, you commit to the process, and slowly the feelings catch up. The mind leads and the heart learns to follow. That's the power of thinking your way through your hardest seasons instead of feeling your way deeper into them. It's also important to understand that the heart can be manipulated, not just by others but by your own fears. It can convince you that you're not ready, not strong enough, not deserving, but your mind can challenge those beliefs. It can dissect them, question them, and replace them with something more aligned with your truth. You don't become stronger by denying your feelings, you grow stronger by not letting them decide your fate. Eventually, the chaos quiets, not because life becomes perfect, but because you become anchored, you develop inner order. That's what Muniba teaches, not to shut out your emotions, but to rise above them with self-awareness. To notice the feeling, honor it, but then move with intention. To stop being swayed by every emotional high and low, and instead, move with clarity, consistency, and calm. This way of living doesn't just bring healing, it brings power, the power to make better choices, the power to hold space for pain without letting it control you, the power to build a future that isn't shaped by the broken pieces of the past, but by the lessons you've learned from them. So when the heart is loud and restless, sit in silence, let your mind speak, because beneath the noise, your mind holds the direction your life is meant to take. Life often puts us in positions where the emotional noise becomes so loud that it drowns out everything else. In such moments, it's tempting to let our heart take over, to let feelings make the decisions. But if there's one thing Muniba Mazari teaches us, it's that emotional decisions made in pain can cost us peace that takes years to rebuild. The heart wants what feels good now. It wants comfort, familiarity, and often approval. But the mind, when developed and trusted, knows what's right for the future. It's not always easy to listen to it because it doesn't always offer instant relief. Instead, it offers long-term healing. When you're hurt, your heart wants to retreat. When you're rejected, it wants to seek validation. When you fail, it wants to quit. These are natural responses, but they are not solutions. The heart reacts, the mind responds. The heart wants to fix things quickly. The mind understands that some wounds take time. It doesn't rush. It plans, it endures. And in that endurance, it builds a foundation of strength that emotions cannot shake. Muniba's story is a testament to this mindset. After her accident, her heart must have been shattered 1,000 times over. The dreams she had, the life she imagined, the expectations she held, they all fell apart in a moment. Anyone would understand if she gave in to her pain, if she allowed those feelings to consume her. But instead, she made a decision not led by emotion, but by thought. She chose to rise, not because she didn't feel broken, but because she knew that staying broken was not her only option. That decision wasn't a one-time act of courage. It was a choice she had to make every single day. And that's the truth for all of us. Emotional strength is not about one grand act. It's about daily discipline. It's about waking up and choosing not to let your pain define you. It's about seeing that you are bigger than what you feel in any given moment. Because feelings, as real as they are not facts. Just because you feel like you're not good enough doesn't mean you aren't. Just because you feel like it's over doesn't mean it is. That's where your mind has to step in and guide you. We all encounter situations where listening to the heart would be the easier choice. Forgiving someone who hurt us, letting go of someone we love, or walking away from something familiar. These are battles of emotion versus reason. The heart will always fight for what once made it happy, even if it no longer serves us. But the mind will remind you that real peace sometimes comes from letting go, and that healing sometimes means choosing what's hard over what's comfortable. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally intelligent. It's about honoring your feelings but not being owned by them. Your tears matter, your heartbreak is real, but so is your potential, so is your future, and to step into it, you must lead with thought, not just feeling. When you begin trusting your mind, you make room for real clarity. You stop chasing what's temporary and start building what's lasting. And the best part, eventually, even your heart begins to feel at peace with the choices your mind made. The healing starts when the mind takes the lead.